Hello everyone, I'm HuntChef Jeremy Critchfield. I've been a professional chef for over 30 years now, 5-star resorts across the country, to today having my own restaurant and butcher shop. I've also been a customer of LEM's for over 15 years, love the product, and now having the chance to work with them, represent them, is like a dream come true. So I've got these ingredients out here today for a brine. In that brine we have a black bear ham, all the way from Alberta, Canada. This brine bucket is really a treat to work with. This guy goes in, slides down, and holds everything in there. And this ham has been brining now for about 3 days, and it's starting to look like you would imagine a black bear leg has been sitting in a brine for 3 days. So we've got tons of aromatics in there. We left a shank on because I thought it was going to be cool and delicious, but we've got this guy. So the brine, we used a 1.5 gallons of water. We got kosher salt, red pepper flake, local buckwheat honey, black peppercorn, fresh thyme, white sugar, bay leaves, maple syrup, and we used some pink salt, aka prog powder #1, as a flavoring and preservative. You don't have to have it in this recipe if you're not into nitrites. So that's table salt with 6.25% sodium nitrite. So it's good for color, it's good for moisture retention, and it's a great preservative. But I wanted to point out, not only did it soak in the brine, but I also used this injection needle. And you can see this guy has the holes around the sides, not coming out of the tip. So super sharp, get through big, heavy connective tissue muscles like this. And I went in all the way around in kind of a grid pattern because you want that cure, that brine, to get the whole way through the meat. You don't want to have any bald spots in there. So I went in all the way to the bottom, backed it out about 1/2 inch, and then put it in the brine, and you can see that kind of swell up with the air. So it provided more holes for the brine to get in, plus put it all the way through. One of the other things I want to mention is this ham had been frozen previously. So when you freeze meat, all that water in the cell structure, expands into ice crystals and kind of helps to break down all the muscle fibers and make them more tender. That process combined with the brine, I think this bear ham is going to eat really good. We're going to just clean off the rest of the thyme and peppercorns. Get a little bit of a drip off of this. I mean, that's probably going on 30 pounds, a lot of bone in there. And bring it to this rack. Now we're going to pat it dry. We're going to cook it to about 160 degrees internal temperature. So this guy's ready. We're going to put it in the fridge uncovered overnight, let that outside dry, and we'll be ready to hit the smoker with it tomorrow. So we've got our brine bear ham. It's sat overnight in the cooler, unwrapped to dry, form that pellicle on the outside. Now we're going to rub this guy down and get it in the smoker. I've got some great maple syrup that we're going to start out with. We're going to rub this on both sides. Not super heavy because we're going to baste it again during the cooking process here. Both sides. I can't wait to see how this thing turns out. All right, I've got some herb seasoned salt here. We're going to put a nice crust of that on it. Some black pepper, just a nice dust of that. Dried thyme leaves. The flavor is exactly what we're going to want with this bear ham. All right, that's side one. I'm give this guy a flip. Because there's a lot of meat here, and we wanted to make sure that brine worked all the way through it. So more maple syrup on this side, all the way up around all these outside parts. Back with the herb salt. All the way around and all over. Black pepper again this side. And finally more of the thyme leaves. So we've got the bear ham all seasoned up and rubbed down. I cut a hole all the way through right here behind the knee joint. This is a lot of weight and it's going to continue to shrink. So we're going to go right through there, fish that butcher twine through, bring it out, tie it off. I was never a Boy Scout, so don't make fun of my knot skills. That ought to do it. Now, back to the bars. These guys are great for hanging sausages, roasts, hams like this. And as long as this ham is, we're going to keep this tied pretty short right here so that it has plenty of room to hang within there. I'm going to scooch this guy over a little bit so it's on that drip pan. So the smoker has this really cool temperature probe right here. We're going to take it and we're going to put it down in the bear ham, and we're going to get right down alongside the femur so we really know that true internal temperature. We're gonna shut the door, put the wood chips in, and smoke this bear ham. So we've got our bear ham in the smoker. We started at a 225-degree temperature with the high smoke because I wanted to hit it right off the bat. And then we dropped the internal temperature down to about 180 in the cook box here in the smoker. And I want to check the internal temperature of the bear ham to see where we're at. And all we have to do right now is come right here. It's at 100 degrees. So we've got about an hour and 45 minutes left, I figure, for the ham to finish up. But we can always come back and check it here to be absolutely certain. It's been 7.5 long, very impatient hours since we put this bear ham in the smoker. We've put the smoke pellets to it 3 times, and our internal temperature probe tells us now that we're ready to pull this bear ham out. And this is what I've been waiting for 7.5 hours. Holy cow. Smoky, sweet. Now we're gonna carve into this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a gorgeous smoked bear ham. You see the shank is good and dark. I mean, it's got crazy dark bark on it. We'll wind up cutting it off, and that needs to go in a pot of beans, a stew, a soup, or something. But the color on this thing is nothing short of magical. We left that big fat cap on the top of this, and I feel like that protected that meat the whole way through, and I can't wait to cut into it and find out. But right here, right now, I want to see how this guy came out. It sounds moist, it sounds beautiful, and delicious. So all this fat cap right here, don't let that freak you out. Again, it is nothing but flavor. You can chunk that up and turn that into another great pot of beans. Use it to flavor green beans in the skillet, start of a stew, anything like that. Look at the color. Look how juicy that guy is. You see that right there? The brine looks like it did its job. It got beautiful color all the way in, all the way down to the bone. You see that red? That's that injector needle. The sharpened with the ports on the side, all the way down. We got one little bald spot right there that slipped through. You can see that brown, but that's okay. It's very small, and the way this guy held the moisture, that brine definitely did its job. I want to try a piece of this. That's so tender and delicious, it should be illegal. You need to go harvest a bear right now and do this. So, bear ham, brine it, inject it. Be patient, let it sit in that brine and injector, and then be even more patient once you put it in the smoker. This is almost an 8-hour process. We could have gone with a lower temperature for an even longer time, but right now, frankly, I feel like we've nailed it. I'm HuntChef Jeremy Critchfield with LEM Products, and this is how you be your own butcher, field to table.